Welcome to Herf Zone Live, the show that is unlike any other cigar show. We have the most eclectic lineup of guests, of which some smoke cigars and some do not. Some will be willing to try. Either way, we bring you the best content weekly. If you are tuning in for the first time, every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., we go live on the Team Shirtless Mike YouTube channel. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and leave your comments while I'm live. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. You can follow me on social media. My Facebook is, all you got to do is just search for Mike Holmes for my personal Facebook page or Shirtless Mike for my fan page. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Shirtless Mike 2020. All right, everybody. I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. We already got people coming in here or whatever, so got a few people, so I'll wait for you to leave your comments. I got to pull up my notes here. I do have a kind of a big announcement before we get the show started, before I bring my guest Jack Smink on. I'm going to start, I already started the process, but I'm taking the audio from my Herf Zone Live shows, and I'm making it into an audio podcast. It's on the website called anchor.fm/HerfZoneLive. And, you could go to that website and hear all the audio from my podcasts and everything. And also I have a custom intro for that audio podcast, so you can check that out and all that good stuff. So, yeah, without further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest. He's been a personal friend of mine. I've known him for around 9 years. We got to know each other through the cigar community at our home shop, Paradise Cigars, and he's just an all-around awesome dude. So I'm going to bring on our guest tonight, Jack Smink. What's going on? What's going on, Jack? How you doing, brother?
Oh, doing great, Mike. Doing fantastic. As good as we can being locked up. Let's put it out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we had some good conversation before the show. I had to cut you off and be like, yo, I got to start the show. So I'm getting this cigar lit here tonight. I'm smoking a Liga de la Casa from Caffey 1901 Cigars. Shouts out to Dr. Gabby Caffey. And
looks like a Maduro.
Yes. And it's really good. It's one of the everyday cigars I've been smoking. It's in the $2 range, So let's see here. We already have somebody commenting here, which is my Aunt Ruth. She says hi from Raleigh. She lives in Raleigh,
North Carolina.
Yep, she lives in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Big Elvis fans in North Carolina now.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and jump right into the interview here. My first thing on the agenda, so you're a Rockledge, Florida, you're a Brevard County native. Tell me about how things were growing up in your era. Give me a brief outlook of your early years.
In my era?
Yeah.
Well, back then we had like the Flintstones cars, and you didn't use gas. You just ran under the car with your feet. No. I was raised here in Brevard County in Rockledge. Went to Rockledge Elementary, then Hans Christian Andersen. Went through the whole school system in Rockledge. I moved here from upstate New York. I got here when I was around 8 years old. So this is basically my hometown. I've lived here my whole life. Probably going to leave this coil from Brevard County. I love it here. Great place to live.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So, so in the early years, though, before you started the whole music thing, or was it, when you were kind of doing both, but you used to be in the painting business, right?
Right. My dad was a painting contractor, and when he passed away, I had just gotten married. I was like 21 or 22 years old, and my dad passed away, and he was sick for a good little while. And so I took over the painting business, which was kind of in shambles. He was sick for a year and a half. I took that business over, and we did quite well with it, and moved my mom in the house with us. We built an additional section on the house. And I went in the painting business. I was around it my whole life, so I understood it. I didn't understand the business end of it. I never got to bid jobs or do takeoffs. I had to kind of learn as I went. But it didn't take me but about a year. I was painting for people like Florida Power & Light, Southern Bell, Pizza Hut. I was painting waterproofing condominiums in the area, all over the beaches. I was still painting people's homes, too. I had like 3 crews going at the time. And then the shuttle blew. And when the shuttle blew, back then, the real economic engine in Brevard County was the space program. So when that blew, our economy went to zero, from 100 to 0. And at that point, I had a lot of overhead, back then, and a big crews of people, and now no work. Everybody pulled out. I was lucky because just at that moment in time, a company called Richards Paint Manufacturing contacted me and asked me would I be interested in working for them. So now I went from that, shut the business down, and went into selling paint. And within about a year, I became commercial sales manager for them. And I worked for them for quite a while. I think it was about 8-9 years, something like that. And then from there, I went with a company called Duron Paints. So I sold a lot of paint, put a lot of paint on. That's my background. In fact, the name Smink is Dutch, and it means paint. So I was in the right business at the time. But I always sang. I even when I had the business, I would sing on the weekends here and there, and I sang a lot in church. And people would always ask me to do Elvis stuff, Elvis tunes. So I would do that. I'd get invited to parties with just the adults, and I'd be the only kid in the room. They'd put on an Elvis album and ask me to sing with it. So I was the entertainment. I didn't know it at first, but it didn't take me long to figure it out. I was the entertainment. But so it kind of was a thing that built it. It happened. It was organic, the way it all came together. Right? It wasn't planned. You make plans, business plans along the way, and that. But it wasn't something that I had a lifelong desire to do. When I started in the business, there was only 3 of us. It was me, a guy named Orion, and there was another fellow named, what's his name? Johnny Hara. And Johnny Hara looked exactly like Elvis. You couldn't tell the 2 of them apart. Orion, he sounded exactly like Elvis. I don't know where I fit in out of the 3. I think I had a little bit of each of them. But great guys. And now I think they last time I checked, there's 70,000 Elvis tribute artists.
Oh, wow.
In the world. That's a lot of Elvises. Elvis, how do you say it? Elvi. But anyway, yeah.
So yeah, you're one of the first 3 Elvis tribute artists
that I'm aware of. Yeah, that I'm aware of, exactly. That made a full-time living at it.
Yeah, definitely. And that actually leads us perfectly into the next topic of conversation. So you have branded yourself very well. Most people initially know you as the Elvis guy, but you aren't simply an Elvis impersonator. You're more of a tribute artist. What is the difference between an Elvis impersonator and a tribute artist?
Man, you did do your homework. That's a great question. A tribute artist doesn't try to be Elvis. Okay, they're from probably at the end of the first song they do and start to communicate with the audience. They know you're Jack Smink, and you're not trying to be somebody else. You're wearing the jumpsuits, Now your impersonators are trying to create an illusion on stage, and I have a lot of respect for impersonators. It's a tough craft because Elvis had left a high bar for people.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's some very good ones out there, and they're good friends of mine. But what I do is what I've done in the past is a totally different skill set. It's entertainment, and it's honoring the greatest entertainer of all times. You could say you didn't think he was the best singer. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's wrong. You could say he wasn't the greatest dancer. But when the man got on stage, he captivated a stage, and he was an entertainer that could not be compared to anyone. He was the best.
Definitely, definitely. And so you started out singing an Elvis song at a local church festival. You did it simply for fun, but the crowd just really enjoyed it. After that performance, when did you know that you would be doing that for many years to come? Was there like a turning point right there, or
No, I didn't have an epiphany.
no epiphany?
I was scared to death when I did that. It scared the heck out of me, and because you got to understand, at that time I didn't know there was anybody else impersonating Elvis or doing a tribute to Elvis, and I thought, God, people are going to probably boo me off the stage trying to be Elvis or something on stage. I had no grasp of what was going to happen, and it scared me to death because the guy was the greatest. And but the audience was very, very responsive, and we had a good time, and we communicated. I got more out of that than I bargained for, because when you're on stage and you're doing that type of music, any kind of music, you're communicating to people. Music is kind of like shorthand, you know?
Yeah.
In 3 minutes, you're communicating to people in 3 minutes. I used to go to church when I was a boy, and I'd watch the preacher preach for an hour and ask the people to come to the front and give their heart to God. And then nobody would get up and come to the front. And Miss Jones would get up, and she'd sing a 3-minute song, and half the church would run to the front. So the power of music is outstanding, and communication and the feel of it. It's just when you're able to bring that across to people, it's like nothing you can describe to some other people. You know, it's like you're at the right place doing the right thing at the right time, and there's nothing better than that, is there, Mike?
Nope, not at all. That's awesome. So you started performing your unfinished business concerts not long after the world lost Elvis Presley. How long was it before you started to meet and started working with some of Elvis's friends and band members? Was it immediately, or did it take a few years for that to happen?
It took a few years. I started doing some stuff locally around here, and then I had people want me to come to Orlando, to venues in Orlando, and I did that. I got to know a lot of people in Orlando, and I said, well, heck, I ought to get my own room. So I went over there and negotiated with one of the hotels about a mile from Disney. And lo and behold, they gave me a ballroom, large ballroom. And I set it up like Vegas, covered tables. It was nice. And I did shows there for like 7 years. So to answer your question, start out very small, and organically, again, I'll use that word again, it seemed to blossom from there. A lot of guys that do this, it's like their lifelong desire. And from the day they start, they want to do whatever. I wasn't like that in the beginning. It just kept happening to me more and more. And I finally quit fighting it, you know. And I wasn't fighting it because I thought it was not good music. I fought it because quite the contrary. It was real tough music to do, and you had a high bar in front of you, Elvis, and so you wanted to do it. Wanted to do it respectfully. So that was the whole thing, and but it worked out all right. You know, here I am. You know, all these years later. You know, you're talking. I did my first show, one you spoke of, a month after Elvis passed away. Month and a half. And I've been Halloween night. I've been doing it ever since, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And since you became an Elvis tribute artist, you've traveled all around the United States, all around the world, particularly England. Though, tell me about your experience performing in England.
It was awesome. People in England, to me, I felt. First day I walked into England, I felt at home. British people are just, they make you feel so at home. And I did. I got along with people in England. I guess I kind of relate to them because they're people that are very kind if you deserve it.
Yeah.
If you don't deserve it, you get the bad end of them, and they can do that too. So I
Yeah.
like that about them, and they're very blunt, straightforward people, and I love that. So, and Elvis, it didn't hurt that Elvis was like number one in England. He was
Mm.
it. Elvis was the king, and as he is at a lot of places, but in Britain, in England, it's strong, man. It's real strong. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So was it kind of like a? Well, I know you said you felt at home, but like, what's the biggest differences like culturally, between here and there?
Um, the difference here and there was over there. I had to travel a lot more. I was doing medium sized shows. I wasn't doing large shows, and I did a lot of them. I'd go there for 2 months and do 2 months worth of shows every day. Every day I would do a show, which is cool. You go home, you go to your bed and breakfast or whatever, and you sleep half the day. Get up, have breakfast at lunchtime, you know, have a
Yep.
couple cigars, and then you're ready for the show that night. So it was great, and the people there, they're interesting people. They start out drinking. The first beer, they're sort of tight. The second beer, man, you're having a ball, and they're very responsive. And so, no, I never had one bad experience over there, really. Um, South America was interesting. I went to South America to do an event, and all this event that I did, all the South American countries were involved in it. All right, it was kind of a gathering of all these places. This place was called the Crystal Palace. It's where they had the Miss Universe pageant that year. Anyway, I was the entertainment. Now they had people from different districts in South America and towns and cities, and they all had something that they represented. One was taffy. One town was known for their taffy. Another one was for like dishware and stuff like that. And they had two Indian chiefs at this event. One was a holistic chief, holistic medicine chief, very nice little guy. And then the other one was a headhunter. He was a headhunter, a real headhunter.
Oh wow.
In fact, I got a picture of him and I together, and they handed me a spear to hold while I was standing there with him, taking this picture, and I felt something touching my hand, and it was actually a shrunken head. The hair was. Oh, it freaked me out. You can look at that picture, I was freaked out.
Yeah.
But that guy, when I met him, now they don't speak good English, but when he saw me, he looked at me and pointed at me and he said, "Jailhouse Rock, Jailhouse Rock," in broken English. And it blew me away because I thought, just think about how famous Elvis is, man. He's known all over the world. This guy lives out in the woods in South America, in Ecuador. And just amazing the impact that Elvis had on this world, man. And so we keep getting back to Elvis a lot. He's easy to talk about.
Yeah.
He did his time, did it well.
Yep, definitely. So you actually have two personal favorite shows, August 18th, 1999 and August 17th, 2002 at the Cumberland County Convention Center in Maine. Back in 1977, Elvis was supposed to perform those dates at that location. So tell me about the nostalgia of those shows for you and how you helped that community honor Elvis Presley, and also tell me the response to those shows.
Well, the Cumberland County Civic Center holds about, I don't know, I'm going to say 6,000 people. That's a guess. But we sold it out. There wasn't an empty seat in the place. It's a big Elvis town. And Elvis was supposed to come and do the first show of the opening of the Cumberland County Civic Center. He was going to open the place. You understand? Mm-hmm. So the town was just over the top waiting for him. They sold out the first day, then they sold out the day before the first day because they always go back a day. And he was scheduled to do the show, and then the day before the show, his habit was he would pack and get ready to go, put all his baggage at the foot of the stairs. He lived up a set of stairs where he slept, and he died in his sleep that night. So he never made it to Portland. I went there, and they hired my band, and I have a 15, or I had a 15-piece band. We went to Portland, did the show in Portland, and on the same day, and it was sold out. It was like you say, it was something I'll never forget. The thing that's really crazy about it is, when I did that show, I was within a month of being, was it a month or month and a half of being his age when he was supposed to do that show.
Wow.
Yeah. I called up a guy named Joe Esposito and a guy named Dick Grove, and I asked them both, did they have a copy of the list of songs? They both did, and they both coincided, so I knew they were both right. So the song list I put together and the songs I did at the show were the ones that Elvis would have done had he made it there.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was there was some family there of Elvis's. Dick Grove, head of security for Elvis, was there. There was a lot of Elvis people there, and it was just great. It was an unbelievable experience, And Portland was very kind to me. I couldn't spend any money in Portland. Couldn't spend any money in Portland. Everywhere I went to eat, they'd buy my dinner, my lunch. All the cab drivers came up to me and handed me their card and they wrote on the back, free ride. And anywhere I wanted to go, I just called their number and they come pick me up and take me anywhere I wanted to go in Portland. I didn't even need a car.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. And the show went off without a hitch. We had a good time. I have it on video. I hired some people to come in and do a 3-camera shoot on that. So I have a pretty good copy of the whole show. And
nice.
It's one of those shows that we didn't have not one hitch in that show. It went perfectly.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like an amazing time.
It is. It was. It was an amazing time. God was good to me. I've been fortunate to be able to see and do some of the things I've done. And you look back on them, and it's nice remembering,
Yeah, definitely. And so you produce all of your own shows, whether it's a large scale or even a smaller scale. But either way, they're all larger than life. I've experienced that. What does it take to put on a show?
Well, if you're going to do it yourself, you have to have, first of all, you have to have pretty good negotiating skills to get the venue and to make a deal on the venue. And then you've got food that's going to be brought in. You have to negotiate on that. And so there's some skills in that. And then you have to get with a sound and lighting company. Sound and lighting, usually they're both. Yep. And then you have to hire a staging company to come in and stage it out for you. Right? Advertising, you have to market the show. Right? So it's, and you know what I mean? And do anything you can, advertising in the paper, whatever you can do that you can afford. That's in the budget. And then from that, you figure out what you got to get a ticket and what's the breaking point. I had a guy one time tell me, he said, "You're just an Elvis guy." I said, "Really?" I said, "I made a living at it." "Well, that's good, but yeah." I said, "Well, I produced all my own shows, and the band and all, and that was 14 to 16 people. I advertised, marketed myself, I branded myself. I was soup to nuts and probably swept up the floor on the way out. And so I told him, I said, it's all right. You can call me the Elvis guy, because that's how I branded myself. You've just given me a pat on the back. That's how I branded myself.
Yep.
I'm a businessman. I've been a businessman my whole life. From a young age, I was thrown into business, and I had to do it. So.
Yep. Definitely. And
now I'm an old, retired, semi-retired, getting ready to go into Plan 2.
Definitely.
For Plan 2 now, brother. And Plan 2, I'm hoping, is as exciting as Plan 1 was for me.
Definitely. I've known you now for about 9 years or so, since we met at Paradise Cigars. what was it, a couple years ago now, I finally checked out your show at the Moose Lodge on Merritt Island. It was your first show after quite a few years. You know, you had gotten surgery on your hips. You were able to twist and shake and all that good stuff. How did it feel hitting the stage again after such a long hiatus?
Don't say hitting the stage when you got a hip operation. I used to hunka. Now I just hunka. Anyway, that's what I told the audience. They liked it. But it was great. People were great. You were there. You know how full it was.
Oh yeah, it was packed.
It was packed. They couldn't get another human being in that place. In fact, I'm glad the fire department didn't show up that night. We'd have been in trouble. I never seen people that tight. I couldn't. They were like up against the stage. I couldn't go off the stage, which I like to do from time to time. So.
Oh yeah.
But it's always a good. I've sung. Is that right? I've sung in front of 120,000 people, and I've performed in front of 2 people. And I got to tell you, Mike, singing in front of 2 people is a lot tougher because you have to give them the same intensity. You have to work just as hard. They paid the same amount of money as the 120,000 did, or probably even a little more. Mm-hmm. So you better give them something good. And I always tried to give, when I was on stage, I always tried to give people the best I could,
Oh yeah. I know me and my grandma, we were all the way in the back, and just for seating purposes, but we kind of moved up to the front of the stage, and I had to drag her to the front because you were giving out the scarves, and I wanted her to have that whole experience of getting a scarf. So it definitely was it was a fun time, for my first time going to one of your shows and all that. And typically, just historically, I'm a hip hop dude. Like I grew up on hip hop, but just as getting older, I kind of branch out a little bit more. And it was one of the best nights that I had in a while. And I know we didn't get to smoke a cigar after. You were busy after. But a friend of mine, Chris Padone, who was the guy over the Moose at that time, he, me and him smoked a cigar after. So,
yeah, I wanted desperately to be able to take the time to do that. But remember what I said a minute ago. I'm the guy that has to make sure that all the lighting is put away, all the staging is taken out of the building. Make sure everything is kosher. So after you do an hour and a half show, and you do all that, there wasn't nothing left of me that night afterwards because those people worked me, son.
Oh
those
yeah,
people worked me. They sure did.
And I know how it is because when I was a lot younger, I used to rap. So I've done shows, so I kind of know how it is. Like, if you're throwing your own thing, then you got to make sure everything is, taken down, and it's a pretty lengthy process. So
I think I gave away 100 scarves that night.
Woo, yeah.
And they want you to put them around their neck, give them a hug while you're singing. So it's a lot. It's a lot up and down. Bending. But it's all worth it. It's all about the love, man. That's what it's all about, really.
Definitely. I know my grandma felt it. I felt it. It was a good time. I took some videos and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to move on to a different topic here and just kind of keep this thing progressing along. So you not only perform Elvis songs, but you also record your own music. And recently you actually sent me a video. The song was called I Hate Hate. Tell me about that song and what has the response been like?
Well, I got to know a gentleman named Razzie Bailey, and he was real big in the 70s and well-known. He worked with people like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, them guys. He had a lot of number 1 hits. And I got to know him through a third party, and we got to be friends. And he said, would you like to do one of my songs? And I said, sure. And he gave me 2 songs. And that I Hate Hate was one of them. He had a hit with it in the 70s. And I took it and kind of revamped it, made it my own in the studio with my guys and girls. And we got it done. I love the song. It's got quite a message to it. And for
Yeah.
these times today,
Yes.
is real. In fact, I felt so strongly in that vein of thought that I haven't sold a copy of it. I
Mm.
I put it out there for free. If you go on jacksmink.com, I'm sorry, on my Facebook, which is, yeah.
It's on your website too. That's where I did my research at.
Okay. Well, there's a video that goes with it. Did you see the video that went with it?
Yeah, I think that's on your website as well, and I saw it on your Facebook. So
Well, there you
yeah,
go.
yeah. If you're watching right now, make sure you add Jack Smink. I think you have a like page, don't you, as well, or just your personal page?
Just Jack Smink.
Yeah, just send him a friend request.
Jack
And
Smink, lightning strikes twice. Is that it? That's it. Lightning strikes twice. My wife's here. She's my brain. I tell you.
Thank God for your wife. She's
Oh, my.
God bless
you
her.
have no clue. We met in high school. We've been married 41 years.
Mm.
And
Not a lot of people can say that anymore.
No, and we dated another, 6 years, Karen? 6 years. And so we've been together forever, and it's been great. It's been quite a journey. Nobody knows me like Karen.
Definitely. And I saw her at your concert, making sure everything runs smoothly, and she did it in her dress and heels and all that. She was going back and forth all night.
Yep, she's been down the hard road with me a few times with the music, and so she's learned, and she does a good job of emceeing, an excellent job. She emceed the show in Portland, Maine, and almost all my shows. She's emceed, so she's great.
We're gonna call her MC Karen from now on.
MC Karen, right?
And so we're gonna keep this thing going here. So how much time, I know before the show you're talking about being in the studio a lot. So how much time have you spent in the studio recently, and are you working on a new project?
Yes, I'm working on 14 songs. I've got 10 of them done, in what they call in the business in the can.
Mm-hmm.
And I've still got 4 more. I'm going back the 30th to go in and record with the band a rough cut, what they call a rough cut. Then we go in and bring in the other instruments and the singers, backup singers, and so it's quite a project. One song probably takes, I'd say, about 24 to 48 studio hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a good technician, somebody that knows what they're doing, and they're tedious, but they're great. And this gentleman that I have, Studio 101, Brendan, he's the greatest. He's the greatest guy for that. And so that's the only place I really do business is over there at Studio 101 in Melbourne.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely heard a lot of good stuff about them, but I know the process of recording music since I used to rap, but I could just imagine, you got, backup singers, you got, a whole band, and, that it's very, very time consuming. So I definitely understand exactly, you're not just going in there for a couple hours. It takes a lot of time. So
some people do that. It's not what I choose to do. The guys I have are professionals, man.
Yeah.
We have some great musicians in Brevard County, and my musicians that play for me are in the top group in Brevard County. I don't want to say they're the best of the best. I personally think they're the best, but that could be argued. But you can't argue with the fact that they're in the very top level of skill. And Brevard County is kind of a best kept secret, The talent we have in Brevard County is just awesome. Some of the bands and some of the players are gifted, but the people that own the bars and establishments here, they're a little tough on those guys. I've seen it and watched it go on, and so those guys feel kind of like, after a while, if you don't have people think a lot of you, you start thinking not a lot about yourself. You know, you quit challenging yourself. You just be happy to go in and hit a few good licks and get out, get your money. And it's a real bad way to go at a trade, but it's not something that happens overnight. It's like a process. The musicians in Brevard County really need to be treated with a whole lot more respect. Because we've got gifted players here and gifted singers, you know, and all. And Brevard County, we have the skill of the people in Brevard County, the upper echelon I'm talking about. I'd put them in Nashville, and they'd hold their own in Nashville, the top of the game.
Absolutely.
They're wonderful. And so I feel honored to be here and be able to do stuff with people local. And this group of guys I got, they still get it. They still understand, to push themselves, and they're all trying to better themselves musically, and that's what it takes. You don't go a day without learning something and gaining from the experience, So
Absolutely. So we're gonna switch gears again. So the cigars, because that's how we met, in the local cigar community at our home shop. Paradise Cigars. How long have you been smoking cigars, and how did you get started in the cigar lifestyle?
Is the government watching this? Is the government watching this? The first cigar I ever smoked, I'll put it that way, was a peyote. You know what a peyote is?
Yep.
It's an Italian cigar. De Nobilis and the peyotes, depending on what size you got.
Yep.
They were dry cured. You didn't have to keep them in a humidor.
Yeah, like the Kentucky Fire Cured.
Short fill. And they were like a stick.
Yeah.
You could literally put it on the ground and step on it, pick it up and light it and smoke it.
Yep.
It was they were that hard and tough. And they were strong, but they were flavorful cigar, man. They were good tasting cigar. But it was a chore to smoke one.
Yep.
I would go fishing. I liked to fish back then. And I would go fishing, and to keep the mosquitoes off of me, I'd be smoking the peyotes and the De Nobilis. And I would say I'm ashamed to say, I was probably 17, 16 years old when I was doing that.
I mean, that was a different time, it's like, it was a different time. It's not like these times where all this anti-smoking legislations and everything, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a word for that, but I'm not going to say it. Those people. But, it was a simpler time, We rode on the back of my dad's pickup truck when I was a boy. I mean, from here to Orlando and back, on the back of my dad's pickup. Now, holy mackerel. It's like the cops would probably pull you over now.
Yeah.
So the whole mentality, everybody's afraid. They spend their whole life being afraid. And, this world, Mike, is but a vapor. We're only here for a certain amount of time. So if we're here an extra 20% and we're miserable, then that just don't seem like the kind of life I want. So I try to enjoy my life.
Absolutely.
Without doing an excessive amount of pleasures. That makes sense to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Moderation is key.
That's the way we all should be living. Just live our life to the fullest every single day.
Sure.
And since I've known you, you've also taken on other roles, one being in the cigar industry as a cigar broker for a while. How did you get started as a cigar broker in that time of your life, and what was your experience like as a cigar broker?
Well, I was with a company called Richards and Duron, and I've been in sales all my life in one capacity or another. With the Elvis shows, I was the marketing person behind it. So I've always been in business and sales. And really, the cigar business isn't really much different than the selling paint, You've got a widget to put on the shelf, and then you have to deal with it from there, the business end of it. But so I get to know some of the reps and then some of the owners of some of the cigar companies. And I got to know a guy we called Pops.
Yep. I know Pops.
Okay, he's a good man. And anyway, um, we got to talking and getting friendly. And I said, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I sing on the weekends. And I'm not singing as much now. I was starting to slow down in the Elvis world." And he said, "How'd you like to sell some cigars?" I said, "Well, sure." And he said, "Okay, you got the state of Florida." I went, "The whole state?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So I traveled around doing that, and it was fun. I got to get out, smell the fresh air, get
Yeah.
around and meet other people. I like people, that. So I
Yeah.
got to spend a lot of time with the store owners and some of the patrons of the stores. And cigar people, as you well know, are most of them are some of the best people out there. They really
Yep.
are.
A very small percentage that are dicks, but the rest of them are good people.
Yeah, you got to put that on a little plaque. That would be good. I like
Yeah, so you talk about the good stuff about being a cigar broker. Just like there's pros to everything, there's also cons. What was the worst part about being a cigar broker?
Well, there was no bad side of it for me, except that if you had to feed 3 kids and the house payment on it,
Mm-hmm.
that weren't going to happen. Um, you know, I did it because I enjoyed it and I didn't lose money at it. I made a few dollars here and there, and I smoked my brains out. I had all the cigars I wanted all the time. Anytime I wanted the best of the best. I got spoiled rotten.
Yeah.
And so it was more for me. It wasn't something I had to. I wasn't inhibited by it. I just went and did it for the enjoyment of it, and it was kind of neat, In the past, every time I ever marketed like paint,
Yeah.
it was because I had to feed the family, sell
Mm-hmm.
sell jobs for my paint company. I have a paint company and do all that, but that was out of necessity. This was more out of pleasure. So it's hard to have. We were talking about that. If you do something you love, you do it. It's never you don't ever work a day in your life. It's what you love to do. And I loved cigars. I still love them. So
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of almost like a little vacation for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I asked that question because I've talked to a lot of cigar reps and brokers. Because there's a difference. If you're a broker, you're
Sure.
you're representing other brands. You're not in house, and all of them will tell you. If you're gonna be a broker, you got to make sure you got at least a year's worth of expenses saved up because you're not gonna make money right away. And
just long enough for them to replace you.
yeah,
When
but
you
I
hire
mean,
money, then they replace you, and they tell that to the next guy.
yeah,
I saw that right off the bat with a lot of people. That's why I worked for people like Pops. Pops was a straight shooter.
yep,
Always made sure I was treated fairly, and I tried my best to help him with his business.
definitely.
We had a good relationship there and a friendship, which is still going on. I believe on my end anyway, and I believe on his. Still happening today. I mean, I speak to him every once in a while on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah, I definitely asked that question because people see a romanticized, view of being a rep or a broker. So I wanted to see what your view. And that's awesome. You're like the first person I talked to. He was like, there was no downsides for me. So hey,
no,
that's
wasn't.
awesome. That's awesome.
There really
So,
wasn't. I mean, I had to chase sometimes, not with Pops, but with some of the other. I repped like 4 different companies,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes you had to chase down your money.
Yep. I've heard
Or
stories
you
like
had to
that.
go, or you'd sell somebody product and they wouldn't want to pay the manufacturer, so I'd have to be the middleman going in there and tell them to pay up,
Yep.
which wasn't really my job description, but I
Mm-hmm.
did it
Yep.
because I like the guys. I like the guys I worked with and girls. One of them was a lady, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was.
It's definitely here to good to hear about somebody who enjoyed that and I definitely, I won't put the brand names out there, although you talked about one, but hey, when you were repping them, I was smoking all of those brands. Still do to this day if I find them or whatever. So that's pretty awesome. So
I tried to sell product that I liked.
yeah, I mean that always is the best way if you're trying to sell something, because you don't have to work as hard because you truly believe in that product. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're not having to like it's very believable because you're not having to come off like you're convincing. You really are convincing because you smoke that, you believe in it.
Makes it a whole lot easier, brother.
All it takes sometimes is for you to get with a shop owner, because they say you got to go into a shop a minimum of 10 times before they say yes. And so you have to get that shop owner to smoke that product to so they can see and you have to convince them why they should bring that product into their store, because they got a limited amount of shelf space. So in most cases you have to earn that shelf space.
Well, and it's all about relationships, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about relationships. Life is about relationships. If you're married or you have a girlfriend or a guy has a girlfriend, you have to respect each other, not take each other for granted, continue to date each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've been married this long. So, I mean, anytime you're developing a relationship with someone, you cannot take them for granted. You can't take advantage of them. Always be honest to them.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things you do, whether it's a fiduciary relationship, whether it's a friendship, especially if it's a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a love interest or marriage. You have to not take them for granted and work at them, date them, continue dating them.
Yeah,
And I did that with the paint when I sold it. I did that with the cigars. And sometimes I would go into a store and just tell them I stopped in because I was tired and I was just coming in to hang out. And I'd light up a cigar that we didn't have before, and they'd say, "What is that?" "Oh, this," and then we talk about that cigar. Next thing you know, they're ordering boxes of it. So, that you have to believe in what you're doing, and you don't have to put the hard sell on people.
yeah, definitely. And I've seen a lot of reps of the successful ones are the ones who just are about relationship. They come in, even they're not trying to like hard sell. They're just coming in to hang out, and just through that, it just develops relationships with the shops. It's just me being a consumer. I've noticed that, and so that's definitely awesome.
And those shop owners know each other. So if you go in one store and they believe in you, and they talk,
Yep.
So it gets around, and so that's it.
Yep.
And then it's just being, like you say, it's being repetitive,
Mm-hmm.
being around, so that
Yeah, I think Alfredo Cruz, I heard an interview with him. He was on the Cigar Hustlers podcast, and that's what he said. He said you have to go into a shop a minimum of 10 times before they say yes. So, I mean, I've heard other reps say that too. So we're going to move on here. Generally speaking, what are some cigars that you have been smoking lately, and have you come across anything that you have not typically smoked and have added it to your rotation?
Well, I'm good. Well, I like an array of cigars, but that because you know me. I like a Maduro cigar. I like a heavier bodied cigar. But I also like usually Dominican or Nicaraguan or a blend thereof. I like a lot of flavor. I like to, when I retro smoke it, I like it to hit me between the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm looking for in a stick, and that's generally anyone that fits that category. I'm good with it.
Definitely. Have you smoked the Tricky Traca by Dunbarton Tobacco? That's Steve Saka's brand.
No, I can't say I have.
Yeah, that cigar, the first time, because Brooke brought it in because he had the Dunbarton Tobacco, he had the Tricky Traca, and the different Dunbarton cigars that Steve Saka makes. And that cigar, it was like my second cigar of the day when I smoked it. And that cigar, like I'm used to strong cigars, but that cigar almost knocked me out. I had to get used to it for a second because it kind of took it up a notch.
That's what I like. And
Yeah. And I could
have
smoke
you ever
something
smoked
on.
did you ever smoke the Admiral by Yayabo?
Oh, of course I have.
Yeah, I think I remember you doing that. As a matter of fact, I think we smoked one together one day.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Because when
that's a
they,
great smoke.
yep, when Alex and Diani came into town for the anniversary party, one year, we were smoking that cigar, and that's a good cigar. To me, it wasn't that strong. It had a lot of good flavor, but that Tricky Traca I was just talking about, it's a Mi Carita. Normally it has the blue label, but this has a red label. That cigar really took it up a notch for me when it came to strength. And I'm used to smoking cigars from mild, medium, full. It doesn't matter. Like I smoke all over the spectrum. So yeah. We've all been staying home more and social distancing due to COVID and all that. I've talked to a lot of people during this time, and the general consensus seems to be that everyone is smoking more cigars since we have the time. Have you found yourself smoking more cigars, or has your consumption stayed about the same?
It's been really probably about the same, maybe even a little less, because I'm doing things around the house and I put it down and then relight it later, finish it.
Yeah.
I generally don't like to quit smoking a cigar once I've started it. I don't like to have to relight it, but when you're doing stuff around the house, you got to do it. So a cigar that normally would last me 45 minutes or half an hour now lasts me 2 hours because I've bit and pieced it. And so, I think less. I think I'm smoking less.
Okay, yeah, you're the first person who told me they've been smoking less, but I mean it makes sense. I know I've kind of started smoking a lot more, and I had to cut it back down. We were talking about that before the show. I had to keep it down to 2 to 3. Although today I smoked 4 because I was doing show prep and all that.
You know what I hate? I hate when the cigar's in your mouth and it's getting shorter, and that smoke's coming back up into your nose and your eyes.
Yeah.
So I can't work out in the yard or do work around the house with a cigar in my mouth. First of all, inside my house I don't smoke. I have my own patio. It's actually all glassed in. It's like a sunroom, big sunroom, but I made it into my place,
Mm-hmm.
And it's set up perfectly for cigar night,
Yes.
And I can smoke my brains out there if I want.
Yeah.
So, so I don't generally go at a cigar like I used to, because used to be if I lit it, it was staying lit till it was done.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the same way sometimes. I try to just smoke when I got the time where I know it's gonna, be lit throughout the whole time. But there's some times where that just can't happen, and hey, it's all. Sometimes I'll just be tired and I'll go lay down for a while and then come back and finish smoking it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I felt bad because I didn't really answer your question earlier about the songs, the new type of music that I'm doing. Because I have retired from the Elvis gig.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to talk about whatever. We can, take it back to there. It's all good.
Yeah. So I've got 4 more songs. I'll have an album done. And I'm going to start trying to market that. So the good news about all this, if there's anything good to come out of it for me, this being locked away, it's enabled me to do these kind of things and prepare, for it. So I'm hoping, that we can market this new album here and there. And then I want to get some gigs with it and see how it flies. It's fresh and new. Mm-hmm. I've got a cross section of music in it. Everything from Whole Lotta Rosie. Do you know Whole Lotta Rosie?
Mm-mm.
You never heard the song Whole Lotta Rosie? That was
I don't think so.
AC/DC, that's right.
I might have heard it, but like I said, I've been mostly a hip hopper my whole life. But I know a lot of other stuff.
You've heard me sing, but you probably can't imagine me doing an AC/DC song, but I do. Aretha Franklin tune. I'm doing a whole cross section of music from all the way from the '60s to today. some new country. And
Nice.
then, but there's no, in other words, you're not going to come to my show and hear all country music.
Yeah.
I sing the way I sing. I don't. That's why I wasn't an impersonator. The way I sang was how I sang. I didn't try to be 100% accurate like an impersonator does. I sang my own way, and I do these songs my own way. I'm doing an ACDC song, probably with some flavor of Elvis in it. Real
Yeah.
interesting when you hear
Yeah.
it. It's probably one of the best songs out of the 14 that I did. I think it's going to have some. I think it's going to have some future on it.
Nice.
So I'm excited. It's another challenge for me at this point in my life, and you need to have challenges, or you're it ain't far before you get to grass. You got to keep
Yep.
busy. You know?
Definitely. And I mean, it's always good to have a unique sound. You know, you don't want to sound like other artists. You know, when doing music, you know, you got your, you know, you have that Jack Smink brand that, you know, you've branded yourself. You have a certain sound. You know, you are yourself 100%. Whenever you do music, even if it's not Elvis or whatever, you know. So I mean, that's always fresh to have somebody who has their own sound, you know.
Right.
And
Yep.
and to
That's
you know,
exactly right.
it's always a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we're almost done here. Just a few more questions to go, man. This has been a lot of fun so far, man.
Sure has. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I've
and we
done
had a lot of
interviews
viewers.
I've done interviews all over different areas of the world. You know, everything from ABC, NBC, CBS. I've done interviews, Telemundo, South America, Univision, BBC television and radio. You know, it's an interesting business, and I know you're getting your sea legs under you, but you're doing a great job, Mike. And you
Hey, I appreciate that.
seem like you really like it, son. I'm proud of you.
Oh yeah, and plus we had a good amount of viewers. You know, I put comments up on the screen as they came up, you know, tonight. So hey, it's been a good show, like I knew it was. So yeah, we're gonna get into the last bit of questions here. So, what is your beverage of choice when smoking a cigar?
I like a scotch.
Nice. I like scotch
I
too.
like a single malt scotch. Any of the good ones, and there's several good ones.
Yeah.
But I don't mind a well done blended scotch, but I prefer single malt. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not. I mean, I like scotch. I only know like a couple brands of scotch or whatever. But I definitely, the scotch that I had, I really enjoyed. I actually was hanging out with Mike Bellady from MLB Cigar Ventures for Boston Jimmy's 60th birthday party. And so after we were at his party at Executive, we went over to the bar across the street. And
Right.
Mike Bellady was buying drinks because he's rich as fuck. So whenever we go out and buy some scotch or whatever, he's rich as fuck. It's always on him. That's just how he is. And
Yeah.
so I didn't even know what he ordered, but he ordered some scotch, and it was freaking amazing. So I trusted him.
Yeah, when you really appreciate scotch, is when you take your time with it.
Yeah.
Make love to it, man. Don't gullet it down. You might as well go ahead and get a bottle of MD 2020 and drink it. If that's all you're going for is a buzz.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're if you're making love to the scotch and all that, like scotch is really strong, so like it'll hit you kind of quick either way. So, you know that's why I like it, because it's a nice, it relaxes you and all that's kind of.
And it goes great with a cigar, Mike.
Oh yeah.
If you're smoking a cigar with that, it's just a great combination, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely, and we all have a special place that we really like to smoke cigars at. Where is your favorite place to smoke a cigar?
Well, you know, Brooks' place was the last cigar establishment that I
Absolutely.
frequented. Huh?
I said absolutely. That's where we hung out all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
And
just
I miss the whole gang there of people and the atmosphere there.
oh
A
yeah,
bunch of great people, and Susie Q and Brooke, and you know, and so right now he's between stores. He's moving eventually into another location, and I I can't wish him to get it open sooner because he's my guy, you know. My go-to.
Definitely. I definitely feel the same way, on that. It's, that's kind of where, 9 years ago I walked in there. I wasn't an everyday cigar smoker back then. But I walked in, I walked in there, saw the place. It's when I was first getting into cigars, on a serious level. And then eventually I moved like right up the street at Mission Bay Apartments for a little bit. And I started going there every day, and it just became my everyday lifestyle. And if it wasn't for Paradise Cigars, there would be would be no Team Shirtless Mike. I would not be well known in the cigar world because, that's where I really, cut my cigar teeth and really got into the whole lifestyle.
If you don't want to hear the truth, if you ask someone a question,
yeah,
don't ask that question at that location because they'll give you a straight up answer. I don't care who it is.
Yeah,
good people there. Good.
Absolutely,
people.
absolutely. Yeah, that's the reason why I went there, and that was my home shop for so many years because, you're gonna hear the raw, real truth. No holds barred, none of that. If you're a pussy, you can't go in there. You're not gonna have a good time.
I was there one day, and it was toward the evening, and someone came in casing the place to rob it.
Oh,
and I looked around, and I saw several people putting their hands in their coats.
Oh yeah.
Half of them are policemen.
Yeah, a lot of cops go there like that. That's not a safe place for you to go and
to try to steal or rob.
To try to commit crimes.
You're
going
a lot of down there, man. Yeah. But anyway, hey, listen, we're over a minute over, right? Is that okay? We aren't arrested, are we?
No. I always keep it at like an hour. We could go over an hour. There's actually just I was gonna talk about something else, but I'm gonna just bring up one more thing before the end. Because of the way the interview's going, it's a nice vibe. So I'm just gonna kind of end it off here though. So. As we wind down this interview, I want to ask you, what do you think has been the secret to your success, whether it's in music or any other venture?
Wow. I think the answer to that is what I strive to achieve is not success like most people think is success, like adoration and all that. When I do shows, if I do a show and I connect with the audience, and I can communicate with them by a look or something, a joke, whatever. But that connection, and this may sound arrogant, I don't mean it that way. I've never had what I consider a bad show. I've always connected with people in the audience and with people around me. I always tell people in my shows, I'm not Elvis, I'm not trying to be Elvis. We're here to remember Elvis, and I'm a fan just like you are. I just happen to have the microphone, and they'll laugh. And that's the way I go on with the show, and that's success to me. That's what entertainment is, So.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll ask one more last question, and then we'll get up out of here. So, after everything we talked about tonight, what is something that we don't know about Jack Smink?
You should be asking my wife that one. Don't know about me. I'm basically a homebody, and more so at the age I am now. I love my home. You would think somebody that loves to go out in front of 100,000, 10,000, 20,000 people loves to always be in the limelight. I don't.
Yeah.
I love my family. I love my home. And so I am a homebody. I just happen to be in a business that takes me places. But that ain't everything it's made out to be, traveling,
Yeah.
And, but I've done that. But part of being able to do that is knowing you got a good home to come back to.
Oh, absolutely.
Miss you and want to be with you. So I'm a homebody, basically. I'm a homebody. I would prefer to just do all my shows in Brevard County, So I never have to leave the house, but that's not going to happen with this new business I'm creating. I'm going to be traveling a lot. And but my wife's retiring here soon in about 6 months, and she'll go with me. So it'll be an adventure.
That's the life right there. That's the life. So
It's life, bro.
we've talked about it earlier, but where can people contact you? Your website, Facebook, any other social media?
Facebook, just
might
go to
have.
Jack Smink on Facebook. I'd love to get some new friends and check me out. Lightning Strikes Twice Productions is my website. What, Karen? JackSmink.com. And you'll get it. And check me out. You'll see what I did in my past. See some pictures. Hear some music. Some of my songs and videos. In fact, Portland, there's some video of Portland on there. So
Awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get off here. So I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. Remember to like the video and subscribe. Do me a solid and tell a friend. Special thanks to our guest, Jack Smink. Make sure to follow them on all the social media and his website that he just mentioned. Remember to put some smoke in the air. Once I go live, we can still talk in the broadcast studio for a few minutes as well. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It was a blast. It's probably the best show that I had now that I have new equipment. There was no sound issues. Everything went perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show. You have a wonderful rest of your night, everybody, and thank you so much
You
for
as
tuning
well.
in.
Take care. God bless.